Say hi to savings at Old Navy and OldNavy.com with up to 40% off all jeans, all pants, and all tees. And don't forget to come in now to redeem your super cash. Hurry in today. High fashion, Old Navy. Valid 4/25 through 4/30. Excludes clearance, active, licensed, and men's package tees.
Blog Talk Radio.
You know, sometimes I think they don't truly understand me, you know, because they don't.
Can't change the world unless we change ourselves. Die from the sicknesses if we don't seek their health. All odds be my witness when I speak was felt. Full house on my hands, the cards I was dealt. 3 Ks, 2 A's in America. I'm just a black space born out the nebula. And everything I do and say today that's worthwhile. With assurance by your action of your first child. I'll begin my first now. Sometimes I speak and I feel like it ain't my words. Like I'm just a vessel channeling inside this universe. I feel my ancestors and rested inside of me. It's like they want me to shoot my chance and change this society. But how do I go about it? Tell me where I start. My destiny rerouted when I chose to follow heart. You chose to follow suit, but tell me what to do for you. Step where you down, now you trapped inside the cubicle they built for us. The first step in the change is to take notice.
What's up, what's up, what's up? What's happening, good people? This your man, Jay, free I see. Jay is free because I can see what's going on out there today. Chop it up again inside the dungeon. The dungeon garage. Another episode of Outside the Box where we talk about real life issues. Get down to the we don't just take no shorts, whatever. Discuss. 3721 again. 215-883-3721. Tap Outside the Box with your boy Jay. Been gone a couple days. Like I said before, for me everything is spiritual. I only do this because I feel led to do this. I understand that what I say is not always the most popular, nor is it usually what I accepted. Charge that I get, you know, for the calling that's been placed on me. I accept that, you know, I take the responsibility. As I said before, I'm not religious. I am a but I am not religious by any form or fashion. I do not practice any type of religion. So, and I say that just because if you hear certain references to religious scriptures, I'm using it because there's truth in everything. You know what I'm saying? So I can benefit and take the lessons that can help us. I'll use that. So again, as I say, I'm here because it's been the calling. So those that are attuned and can hear what the Spirit is saying, they'll pay attention to hear what the Spirit is saying. And those that are hopefully at another date and time, maybe they'll come back and listen, get a hold of the Spirit saying. So here we go today. A choice, a challenge, and a change. People don't understand what I mean by that. A choice, a challenge, and a change. I've been talking about a lot of things. I've been talking about the children, our future, rid ourselves of that. Some of the things that I said, like I say, I dialogue and communicate with different people, and it hasn't, like I say, been fully accepted. People don't understand it. So I just had to hit us with what the Spirit led me to do. So there's an old saying, and that's in the scriptures where it says, the truth shall set you free. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And I hear people say this quote all the time. People always talking about, yeah, man, the truth will set you free. And, so many people claim, that they so real and they so 100. Everybody real and everybody 100, and everybody wants the truth, and everybody deal with absolute truth. Well, see, we don't pay attention to the fine details. And so within the fine details, you have to understand something. So in order to be set free, that means that you have to be in bondage to something in the first place. So to even make the statement that if you know the truth shall make you free, what is it that you're bound from that you need truth to set you free for? You understand what I'm saying? And so when you pay attention to the details, you understand that there's an action behind truth. Truth is meant to make me aware of the bondage that in most cases I probably was once unaware that it even existed. And so truth plays a role. Truth has an action. Truth carries out an action. You understand what I'm saying? Truth is a process. Truth is not just a word that we use. You know, we like to say, oh, yeah, that's the truth. I believe the truth. I'm real. I'm 100. No, truth is an action. You see what I'm saying? And so truth sets us free. So truth breaks me free from that which otherwise has me bound. And in our instance, most of the time, things that have us bound, we aren't even aware that they even exist. See, this is why things get so complicated. That's why when I'm dealing with today, talking about a choice, a challenge, and a change. See, you have to choose truth. Truth is a choice because, see, it gets complicated. It's easy when we can recognize a physical restraint. You understand what I'm saying? Of course, you know you in bondage when you in shackles and chains. When you in handcuffs, you know that you in bondage. But what we're dealing with now is psychological stronghold. A psychological stronghold, it deals with that which you can't recognize with just your physical eye. So to say that we're a slave today in 2017, I found obnoxious and ludicrous to say that we still slaves. But that's only to the blind eye that doesn't understand. This is what I'm saying. Now, of course, in 1830, you knew we were slaves because in 1830, we were in shackles and chains and cuffs. And so now today, because we have an illusion of freedom to say the same statement that we're slaves, you understand what I'm saying? You would laugh at me and say, oh, man, he crazy. We ain't slaves. What he talking about? But this is what we're talking about. We're in the psychological warfare. See, the warfare changed from physical to psychological. And this, again, is why you will always hear me say it. For those that are listening, you will always hear me talk about perception. Because, again, it is everything. That's why it's so key. I sound redundant because I keep mentioning it, but these are principles and truths that we have to get. And so as the Spirit impresses on me that we have to get these truths, see, we go into a root and foundation that has to be uncovered before we can even begin the process of talking about going forward and healing or talking about going forward and building or anything. We got to get to the root issues, because if the root isn't fixed, then all we'll be doing is continuing to build and establish on faulty, unstable foundation. So we got to get to the root. That's why this is so key. And we have to understand it's psychological, and that's why our perception means so much. Remember, we talked about perception is how I process new information that comes in. And so the new information comes in, though, remember we said that perception was affected by my previous knowledge and biases and experience. So, therefore, when the new information comes in, you understand what I'm saying? I only can perceive it at the level of my understanding. So, an example would be, there's a movie, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's got Danny Glover, it's got Lela Rochon, it's got Luke, I forgot my brother's name. Luke, the brother that played Antoine Fisher. It's got him in it, and the movie is based on a true story. And the movie is dealing with a racist white guy that got out of prison, killed the cop, blah, 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 and he held Danny Glover and Lela Rochon them, and he had them under hostage in their home. Derek Luke, I believe his name, he was a cop, and he was actually Danny Glover's son. Long story short, within the movie, the white supremacist that was in the movie, and it was based on a true story, he had a misconstrued perception about black people. So all his life he had been fed all of this lies about, us being so ignorant and dumb and blah, blah, all of the ignorance that he was fed. And so this led him to be the white supremacist that he was. You would have to see the movie for yourself. But within the movie, I'm dealing with perception, and I'm talking about he only understood black people at the level of which he had been given his understanding. But in the process, in the course of him having them under hostage, he began his experience. It changed his mind. It was difficult for him to accept some of the things he learned, but in the end, he actually ended up realizing that it was he himself that he hated. You see what I'm saying? And that everything that he thought about black people was incorrect because he was looking in the mirror at himself. I'm talking about perception. I really hope people understand what I'm saying. Go look up the movie. Y'all please figure out what I'm saying. I sound redundant, sound like what I'm saying I'm rambling, but please hear these truths and what it is that we're talking about, because perception is everything, and I just have to give that example. Just like we're talking about what we deal with now is spirituality. So when you're talking about perception, and just so we understand how important it is, our God concept, you understand what I'm saying? Our God concept when it comes to, so we've been taught, that's why they taught us this monotheistic ideology of religion, so that we believe that God is a person or a deity. So we looking at God. So now if new information comes in to you, for instance, to say that there's, polytheism and that there's multiple gods, I'm just giving an example for you people, please. What I'm saying is you won't receive that information because your idea, a level of understanding says that God is only one person. So, you may can switch from Allah to Jesus, or you might can switch from Jesus to Allah. But you ain't going to switch from Jesus or Allah to, some crazy, old school religion where they got 7 different gods that they worship, because your level of understanding. And so what we're talking about is our conflict with truth, if you understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the example of the movie, the white man had a conflict with truth. He had been taught something. So his perception was based on the level of understanding he had been given. However, when he came to a situation and truth confronted him and he could no longer run away from or escape truth, truth now began to challenge him, and it began to conflict with him. And this is where that word is called cognitive dissonance. You see what I'm saying? That's what cognitive dissonance kicks in. Cognitive dissonance is when we lie to ourselves. So cognitive dissonance is when the new information comes in, challenges the core of my belief and the structure of who I am so much so to the point where I begin to fight the information that comes. I just immediately begin to build up walls and reassure myself on my previous knowledge, because this new information shatters and challenges everything about the core of who I believe. And so, these are some of the things that we're dealing with now as a community, as we're waking up and we're coming to a realization and understanding of how much we've been lied to about history and about who we are individually and about how the world works and about spirituality and so many other things that we've been lied to about. As we've been lied, and now we're in the process of waking up, or we're in the process of gaining conscious awareness of these things. Now the dissonance is kicking in, and we're struggling with accepting some of these new truths. And this is why I said a choice, a challenge, and a change, because, see, you have to choose truth. First off, you have to choose truth. When the moment that it begins to challenge you, you have to make, this is a choice. You see what I'm saying? But remember, everything in life is a choice. You see what I mean? So this is the same as our desire for truth. You know what I'm saying? This is why the statement says, you shall know the truth and it will set you free. See, remember in the onset when we talked about, you have to be in bondage in order to be set free. So what is it that this truth is setting me free from, and what is this truth? Now, I gave an analogy before. I hate to be redundant, but I gave an analogy on another show, on another video, and we talked about that perspective, and we talked about how looking at it, from the right way. We talked about there is certain situations are a matter of perspective. You know what I'm saying? Whether or not grandmama's Jell-O is good or not is a matter of perspective. That's each individual person's taste bud. You see what I'm saying? However, the ingredients necessary to make Jell-O is an absolute truth. You see what I'm saying? There's a Jell-O is Jell-O. If it's not Jell-O, it's something else. And I'll just give that analogy because this is where we are. As we bring in this, as we are waking up, and as we becoming aware and conscious of our surroundings and of the spirit and energy in the universe around us, and as we becoming aware that we've been lied to in regards to so many things, now we also have to remember our perception is based on that which has been given to us. You see what I'm saying? And so even though we have new information coming, we have to be aware of how we process the new information. So we have to choose truth. because truth is going to challenge us. And remember now, we're talking about breaking us free from a bondage that we were previously unaware of that it even existed. And so that means it's going to challenge you at the very core of your nature. Truth challenges us at the core of our nature. See, we think truth is meant to be peaceable and easy and nice and soft and kind and polite. That's not truth. You know what I'm saying? More instances than not, truth is going to hurt. You see what I'm saying? When you go to try out for the team, you know what I'm saying? You got it made up in your mind that you good and you bad and you this and you that. But the truth is to be a totally different concept. And now even when you on your team and you the star of your team, but now you get to college and realize there's 100 other stars. You see what I'm saying? There's always an absolute truth. No matter what you're dealing with, you can make up in your mind what you want. You can tell yourself you're the prettiest thing on the planet, but there is still an absolute truth. Even though you may be pretty to some, there's still an absolute truth. And I'm just letting us know there's truth in everything, and truth will challenge us at our core. So it's up to us. We have to choose. It's a choice. We got to make a choice to choose truth, because otherwise cognitive dissonance will kick in, and then we'll start lying to ourselves rather than us being able to receive the new information. You see what I'm saying? So like I say, we have to learn to relearn all over again. So you can't bring the new information in and process it using your old conceptual ways of thinking. You gotta change it. See, when we talked about perception a second ago and its importance, remember then that all of our views and our opinions and our thoughts and our ideas and all of this, it's not even our own. They've been strategically programmed into our unconscious mind. You see what I'm saying? We are literally sleepwalking. Now, let me explain for a minute what I'm talking about, why this is so important, and I hope you're listening. This is why this is so important that we grasp a hold and listen to these truths, because when you want to talk about how we are literally we programmed and we're sleepwalking, think for a minute about just a small example. We can go to the pyramids in Giza. We can go to the pyramids in Egypt. Science have already proven that the pyramids predate our current history, even according to their biblical structure. And so that's one thing, that it conflicts their history. The second thing, though, is that right now today, science still cannot recreate or reproduce the feat that it was to create the pyramids in the first place. So how could something existed that predated our current known history? But we still, with our technology and so-called smarts and science today, we still can't recreate or reproduce it from 10,000 years ago. Now, the reason I bring that up is because as serious as that is, and as simple as the fact that you can open your eyes and see this, and you know this to be a fact for yourself, without me saying it, nobody's questioning it. Everybody still accepts all of the religious teaching. Everybody still accepts everything that they've been taught. Everybody's still going on with day-to-day life. When it's clearly obvious that that's a major lie above anything, that right there should make me just say, let me just stop and we need to find out where the pyramids came from, who built them, how they built them, what's going on. Now, those of us that are aware, there's a science behind it. We understand it. But I'm talking about the collective conscious mind. And look where we at. Everybody's still going on day to day like everything is normal. But you can look and see right in front of you. Now, see, again, we're talking about a spiritual warfare. So you have to understand that the reason you're conflicting and the reason you have to choose to accept truth and overcome this cognitive dissonance is because they're going to have a counterattack as well. You see what I'm saying? This was a well strategically thought out plan that they put in place when they created this system of white supremacy. You see what I'm saying? They knew all of the nuances that would be involved because they understand the psychology and how the brain and how the mind works. And so they always will have, a false flag, so to say, or a counterattack to continue to push their agenda as we become aware of conscious. You know what I'm saying? So like during the civil rights movement, I hate to blow people's bubbles, but during the civil rights movement, you understand what I'm saying? You understand, however, as black folk were becoming conscious, blah, 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 the civil rights wasn't a benefit for us. Let me say that for y'all, so it's for the people that don't really understand. Integration didn't benefit us. You understand what I'm saying? We already had our own, we're creating our own, we're producing our own, and we were forced to have to accomplish and survive within our own community and work amongst each other. And the power, the family structure even that existed within our community at that time is evident. The difference in then and now is evident. And so what happened was we began again with this psychological programming. We began to want the master's table. So now all of our athletes, for instance, go to white institutions, whereas at one point in time a white institution wouldn't let you play for them. You were forced to go to Alcorn or Jackson State or whatever. And now you're going to them and making them money, and our schools are dying and poor and losing money. You see what I'm saying? So it's all the psychological programming. We wanted to sit at the master's table. So the NAACP, what is that? A white organization. Was that started by us? No. Martin Luther King, part of the Boule. I know people don't want to hear what I'm saying, but we talk about agents. Why is it that the government used Martin Luther King, and when he began to wake up and began to be aware of what he was up against and what was really going on, this is when they assassinated him. And why has the government have been found guilty and convicted of assassinating Martin Luther King Jr., but yet they done made a holiday for him? You got to understand what you're dealing with and what you're up against. This is real warfare, people. You notice Malcolm's America. You know what I'm saying? Look how there were brothers that sat on the front row that killed Malcolm. See what I'm saying? It's tied. It ain't about color in that extent. I don't get what I'm talking about is we got to pay attention to everything. This is what I'm saying. See, we wrestling not against flesh and blood, but like the scripture said, and like I said, I'm just referencing, but we wrestle against spiritual wickedness in high places. Therefore, our weapons are not carnal. See what I'm saying? We at psychological war, but we got to be aware that we're at war, and we got to understand what this means. See, we think that our war is economic. And so we want to think that we need to build and we need to become economically sound and we need to establish financially. And that's not the answer. Money was never the answer. Money means absolutely nothing in the real spectrum of life. Meet your straw man. Let me just say that to you. For those that don't understand, you talking about building. Look, man, if we got a social security number, a birth certificate, and driver's license and all of these things, man, you just a registered slave, bro. You ain't free. They can come and take what you got and do what they want. They can take your kids, take your car, take your house. They can do whatever they want to any of it. Because you done signed a waiver that relinquished your rights as a citizen and have surrendered it over to the corporation of the United States of America. But like I say, all of this go deep. I'm just trying to get to the root where we understand it. It's not about economics, people. It's about psychological warfare. That's why I'm saying this truth is so essential because it challenges us on the inside. See, our level of perception, understanding is that money makes the world go round. And that if I got money, then I got power. And the people that got money is the people got power. So this is our level of perception that we've been given by the white supremacist system. And so within this system, this is our level of understanding. So as we now becoming aware of the system that's opposed to us, now we trying to use these ideologies to oppose the system. So we're using the system to try to beat the system, and you can't. You can't. Like I say, money is not the answer when you understand true economics. See, the goal of psychology, and I'm a student, so it says to describe, to understand, to predict, and to control behavior. That was the purpose of psychology. That's their study of psychology is just to be able to understand how the brain works so that they can control behavior. Keyword, control. So the system of white supremacy, you understand what I'm saying? Now they have created a power structure which creates the culture that we exist in. And this is why I say money isn't the power. The collective mind is the power. The minds of the collective is the power, not the money. See what I'm saying? Those that are in charge behind the scenes, they have created a system to make us desire for material and physical wealth. Why? Because we're dealing with identity. This is why I talked about race not being an issue. Not that it didn't matter what melanin, we understand the universe, but I'm talking about the psychological programming that they have placed upon us that they have us out of whack, and to where now we're paying attention to things that don't matter. And so what I'm saying is that what they've created a culture where we're focused on money. And money, I use the term money, but really money is identity. Everybody identifies themselves by their status and their stature based on their economic status, based on financial stability or money. That's what everything is based on. You see what I'm saying? No matter where you are, you can be the ugliest brother on the planet and you can have an arm full of women if you got a pocket full of money. You understand what I'm saying? You can kill somebody and have enough money to be able to pay to get off. You understand what I'm saying? But then you can do absolutely nothing wrong and be too poor to stand up for yourself. See, it's not about the money. You understand what I'm saying? Money was just the middle of what they put in the middle to keep us separated. You understand what I'm saying? When you go out in public, there is more than enough of everything for everybody. But they have us lusting and desiring for more possessions, the next trinket, the next new gadget, the next new car, the bigger house, the more money. And while we steady worrying about these things, guess what we're doing? We're not focusing on spiritual things. We're not see, like I say, through their psychology of studying the mind, they discovered that by using color and race and money, that they could create an identity crisis. And I can promise you that at the end of the day, this is what we deal with within the community is identity crisis. Because I don't know myself, you understand what I'm saying? I measure myself based on my status and stature. We grow up as kids within this society that perpetuates this ideology on us. And we grow up saying, I'm going to go to school and get a job so I can get this and get that, so I can be this, so I can show the world. And this is what we say within ourselves. But we know that there's not a material possession that we possess on the planet that is going to cross over with us when we transition. And this is what I'm saying. As we're waking up, we claiming that we're conscious and we saying that we're waking up and that we're aware, but we still following the same means and structure that had us bound when we were asleep. So as we waking up, like I say, they creating the dynamic that contradicts the truth. You know what I'm saying? It's like as you become aware and become conscious, then they'll throw Alex Jones out there. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else. So they'll try to control the new information. You understand what I'm saying? It goes so deep, people. I'm being redundant, I know it, but this is so serious that we begin to understand. See, the ancients, our ancestors, if we go back to Kemet or whatever, it wasn't no color. Didn't no color exist. The spiritual system didn't recognize the image of God as a person. You see what I'm saying? They worship inherent principles within the nature of the heart. See what I'm saying? So they had laws. The 42, they had laws, and there were principles, and there were, I guess you would say, you could call them idols, but the idols, they weren't really idols. They worshiped ideals. They worship the natures and principles that were inherent in the deep inner core places of the heart. And this is why religion plays such a key role in the process of their manipulation. I just got the call, people. I got 60 seconds left to be on there. I'm so sorry. There was so much more to get into to discuss with this. I guess I'm just going to have to keep going for those that would want to pay attention. I'm going to keep giving it to you. Wish your man Jay Free. I love you, man. Blessings. 100.
And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
Hardship. My grandmother would go through it every month to pay her insurance bill. First, she would handwrite a paper check in cursive. Then, using her own tongue, she would wet a stamp for an envelope. Today, however, we need not weary our hands and tongues. Today, we can pay our Geico bill with the Geico app. Away with hardship, in with bill pay on the Geico app. Thank you.